Great. So welcome everyone to the Citizens Remuneration Review Committee. It is 3:05. Prior to discussing any items on the agenda, we do have to have the election of the chair and vice chair. And so I was able to send everybody a copy of the roadmap. So once the chair and vice chair is selected, the roadmap is kind of like a script of, what to say, how to introduce the motion. So could I get somebody to open the floor for nominations? Are there any nominations or are there any volunteers for chair?
May I have a question?
Sure.
From a process, I'm not sure that I know everybody.
Right, so we, if you like, we have introductions during the roll call portion of the meeting, but if you like, we could do introductions real quick. Everybody can talk about their experience and from there you could determine.
I think that might be better.
Okay, sure.
Chair or vice chair.
Sure. So Brenda, we want to start with you first?
Sure. Brenda Hertog. I'm a retired legal assistant.
Virginia Kershaw, retired city employee and currently executive assistant at the Brantford Police Services Board.
David Prang, the active employee of the Chamber of Commerce, Brantford Brant.
Mohammed Aboushade, graduating student from Laurier, current chair of the board of directors for the Students Union, and senator and governor on the University Senate and Board of Governors.
I'm Chris Goche. I am the city clerk.
Anita Soloki, Director of Human Resources for the city.
And Joelle Daniels, I'm the city treasurer and commissioner of corporate services.
And that's our friend Matthew. His microphone's not working.
Also a citizen appointee.
Yes.
Okay. So now we need somebody.
Yeah, are there
We
any,
need a nomination.
anyone wants to volunteer? Someone else?
I nominate Dave Prang to be chair, if he has the time.
I'll accept the nomination.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for chair? All right, do you accept the nomination?
I accept the nomination.
Congratulations, you're the chair.
Okay. Thank
Are
you,
there,
Virginia.
Welcome.
well, here we have nominations for
Yeah.
vice chair, if you want to return the favor. So are there any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Virginia as vice chair.
Are there any other ones? Do you accept?
Yes, I do.
Congratulations, you're vice chair. So David, I'll get it off.
Okay.
You shouldn't have printed that. Ready to go, man.
They go in color copy too.
Yellows
Yes.
are the speaking points.
Okay. So now that we've done the roll call, we don't need to repeat that. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Okay, seeing none. And we have no delegations or presentations on today's agenda. So we'll now move on to items for consideration. Normally I provide instruction on Robert's rules and I don't have to follow them, but so may I get a mover and seconder to place item 5.1 council rumination review onto the floor?
I'll motion.
Mohammed, and seconded by Brenda. Any discussion? We need to.
Through the chair, we could have staff, yes.
A bit of a summary.
Yes, let's get us, sorry, yeah, so discussion, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So before you is a brief report and a whole bunch of attachments. So I know, it's a pretty extensive package that you received. It's really providing information up front for you to consider in terms of the council remuneration review. There were a couple of attachments related to the comparator information that was distributed, and then our city clerk distributed that in Excel format, so you could sort and circulate it, filter it as you see fit. There was some analysis that was done by staff to highlight for this particular committee. Most municipalities make pay increases for council effective January 1st, but the city of Brantford has their effective date December 1st. So that may be something that you want to consider Some municipalities tie the pay increases to the consumer price index or add in a CPI component to the increases. We have not done that here, and we do not do that for staff either. They're all negotiated wage rates. And so the pay increases for council are really tied to the adjustment that is negotiated with our Association of Professional Administrative Employees. Some municipalities offer vehicles to members of council. However, the city of Brantford does not include vehicles as part of the remuneration package. I suspect that some of those municipalities that offer vehicles may be more in the rural areas where those councillors have to travel more extensive distances. Most municipalities offer similar group benefits packages that are provided to the non-union staff, except for Norfolk County that requires their councillors to pay the premiums at the cost. And most municipalities offer computer, phone, internet access, or provide a budget for equipment and office expenses. The city of Brantford does provide a discretionary budget for members of council. It's currently
$3,510.
$3,510. So just continuing on with the report, you'll notice that the mayor's salary is about in the middle of the pack with our comparator municipalities. And the salary comparison for councillors indicates that the city of Brantford is very much on the low end there. And so then in terms of considerations for the remuneration, as mentioned, you can take a look at the effective date of those pay increases. Maybe it would be to January 1st or to November 15th. That's the date that they take office as per the recent municipal act. Or we could have some general wording that talks about the date that the elected officials take office as per the municipal act, in case the province ever decides to change it from November 15th to, I don't know, April 1st or something, right? Increasing the hours of work for part-time counselors is an option as well. Currently in our system, it indicates that counselors are paid based on 15 hours a week. Perhaps that's more. I mean, they are required to review all of the reports. They do attend various meetings, not just council or committee of the whole. There's a lot of other meetings that they attend. They attend municipal public information center meetings, social events. And so maybe 15 hours of work a week is on the low end, even though they are part-time employees. The city does consider part-time employees based on 24 hours or less. One thing that has recently come up is a request for a T2200 form for expenses. So some councillors, certainly post-COVID, many of them now do a lot of work from home in terms of reading the reports, responding to constituent inquiries, whether that's via email or phone or what have you. So that may be something else that we want to consider including in the honorary bylaw. And then you were also provided with the benefit package as well as the travel and expense policy that we currently have in our system. So, Mr. Chair, I think that's a summary highlighting the items in the report.
Okay, are there any discussions? This would be, okay, yes, any discussions on item 5.1? Questions?
Yeah, I had a question.
Oh.
So, what are some of the considerations that the committee will have to take into consideration when it comes to making sure that we're being responsible to taxpayers, but also making sure that the councillors are compensated for the time that they take in order to prepare for all these meetings? Is just based on my own experience, 15 hours seems a little low for what a councillor typically should do in terms of like all the reviewing and getting back to constituents. What's your professional opinion on navigating a balanced approach that is realistic?
You can address from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of items in this report. I mean, certainly there's a desire, I guess, like from a corporate perspective, as far as budget management concerns are. Anita had mentioned that their pay increase that they've seen as of recent, and of course with the most recent approved bylaw, their increases are just tied to the increases that we've seen amongst our Association of Professional Employees who work at the city.
Those,
there's-
oh, sorry, just a clarified question. I guess I might have as many questions as
Yeah.
the chair. So if you could over there. So the increases are the date for the council increases are consistent with the date for the staff increases?
It's not.
No, okay, so that even though the percentage amount is the same, the date for the increases distinct.
And I think typically for members of council, it's almost actually, it's behind.
It's 11 months
right? So it's
behind.
11 months behind, okay.
Yep, so.
The December date is
The
11 months
December
behind, okay.
first Trigger, I think was based on council previously used to assume, that,
They used
their
to-
new term,
yeah.
like their new term would start December first, that's now been back
Okay.
to November 15th, but the increases for the association are January first, right? So, you know, it's not just budget though. I think this group would take into consideration, you're probably gonna want to maybe perhaps know a little bit more about how much work the council does, how many meetings are they required to attend, what's the volume of you know, items they're seeing on agendas on a monthly basis that they need to prepare for, how much work they're putting into preparing for those, as well as other meeting requirements that are expected of them. I think that's probably a large part of this group deciding what would be a fair compensation for them.
And so I think, Mohammed, that part of the report back to council on the recommendations from this particular committee would be to build in those adjustments to the budget process.
Yes.
So whatever that looks like, that would just be happening as part of the
Right.
outcome and recommendations.
And like the reason why I'm asking as to how it pertains to the budget is because in my organization, when we're building, you know, staff increases, but also like governance planning, it is part of the budget process. So like I wanted to kind of get an understanding of like what the impact of that is. And honestly, like I'm just seeing it, again, I don't know that much, but it being the increase being about 11 months behind is kind of unfair if the employees are receiving an increase and then the counselors are receiving the same increase, but like 11 months behind. If we were to aggregate that on a year where there's like 2% inflation, that's really like a decrease of like 1.8%, which is not that insignificant.
I think any changes, if there are changes being proposed to the remuneration, they won't take effect until next term of council. And so it's not like it's gonna be a direct impact to our budget right now
Right
that
now, yeah.
was just approved, but so we'll be able to forecast and build that into
Right.
when we do present the budget.
Okay, so that was a question. Another question that I had is that the outcome of this process is a report to council to adjust the council remuneration bylaw for the next municipal election cycle.
Correct.
Secondary question on that is this assumes the current council structure of 10 part-time councilors and 1 full-time mayor? Or does the committee have the discretion to make a different recommendation?
So let me just look at the mandate. So the mandate is to conduct research, review existing policies and practices, make comparisons with similar sized peer and neighboring municipalities, and produce an independent report with the recommendations for the total level of compensation, benefits, and expenses for the next term of this. So based on that, I think right now you're only looking at the total level of compensation and you're not really looking over the whole employment status of part-time versus full-time.
The governance, we're not empowered to adjust the governance structure of the corporation. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Any further questions from the delegates? Virginia?
You mentioned the discretionary fund. That's, I think, different than when I was here. What do they use that for now? Or what can it be used for?
It really is quite discretionary, so of course, it doesn't include any of their honorarium or their benefits, but it would allow them if they wish to attend a conference or a seminar. Perhaps they could make a donation if they're buying tickets for an event or purchasing meals. Some of them use it to pay for like Wi-Fi connectivity.
Ward meetings.
Do they still have admin support in the clerk's office?
No.
No, hey.
I didn't hear that.
admin support,
Oh,
like
admin
we used to
support.
have a couple of council assistants that they come to, and they don't do that at all now. So who does their work?
So through the chair, the customer service staff now help with tracking all the constituent complaints through their CRM program.
Um, When we reviewed the municipalities, were any of them paid for meeting attendance? I remember that was a thing back when, but I
I
don't
believe
know.
that's in the chart.
Maybe I missed it.
So like City of Waterloo, the mayor receives remuneration. North Hydro as a member of Waterloo. Is that what you mean?
No,
No?
no, it used to be if they attended council meetings, like I realize if they're on boards and whatnot, they get different honorariums, but that goes back
Oh.
into the general budget still, I'm assuming.
So you're saying like $50 if you show up?
Yeah, if
for
you show up
committee of
to
the
a
whole.
committee of the whole. No, nobody does that
I
anymore.
don't see that.
Okay. You mentioned 15 hours is what their salary is based on. What does that equate to hourly?
Give me 2 minutes.
It's hard to break it down if you don't.
Well, Anita's looking.
Yeah,
at that.
absolutely.
Just for further response to your question, though, Virginia, I'm not sure it was in this report, but council did approve last year that the members that are on the city's planning committee
Yeah, that's
do
the
receive an
question.
additional
Yeah.
stipend,
Yeah.
but it's voluntary. Not all members are taking the additional stipend.
Yes.
So the hourly rate for counselors is $47.073.
And that's at 15 hours a week.
That's how much TAs get paid, graduate TAs get paid, that's
What's
Ah.
TA?
a teaching assistant.
Thank you.
They get paid for $47?
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
About that.
Chose the wrong profession. Sorry, that was my outside voice. Okay.
$47, just to clarify, $47 at
Yeah.
the 15,
Yeah, 4707.
07,
Yeah,
07 at the 15 hours a week.
I think the report mentioned that many committees, quite a few committees were removed during the last review. Do we have an average, Chris, of how many committees that the counselors sit on now? Or do you have a,
Including boards, are we around 30? It's not the exact.
they don't all sit on 30?
They don't, well, not all of them, but for advisory committees, there are council representatives that sit, on heritage, on accessibility advisory committee, on various task forces,
Chamber of Commerce.
right?
have
John
the
Noble.
Can you get us the latest bylaw for that?
Sure, the bylaw, yeah, I could do that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. The planning committee, that was the other thing, is paid separately. Would that be something that we would consider removing with this increase, or if we increased it, or that's a separate thing?
We could. It could be part of our.
Falls in line with
It could be
total.
within your purview of
Yeah.
total
Total compensation.
compensation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to answer your previous question, Virginia, we do have a attendance policy report going to council in 2 weeks.
Do we still do that? Yeah.
Yeah, so that
okay.
shows
Yeah,
all the meetings that they attend, so I can forward that to the committee once
Sure,
it
that-
becomes public.
that'd be good.
Yeah,
To have.
Perfect.
And one more thing, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Give us some leeway on
Okay,
our hours rules here.
the bylaw. It includes other, well, in particular, the police services board, it includes honorarium. Is that gonna be pulled out, put onto a separate bylaw? Because you don't want to get rid of that part of it, I'm assuming. That's not part of this purview.
That's,
So
sorry,
what,
through the chair, that's correct. It's not part of this particular mandate. We're focused
Yeah.
on council, but right now we do have the honorarium bylaw that covers all of those
Yeah.
different components. So whether we have a separate one that deals specifically with council and then capture everyone else, or whether we just amend the honorarium bylaw. But
Yeah.
sure.
just that you don't want it lost, I'm assuming, correct? So maybe if that's part of our recommendation to do standalone bylaw and get a clean honorarium for counselors. I don't know why it was all rounded in there anyways. Okay. Let's,
So I got lost at that last point, the honor, so the,
there's part of the honorarium bylaw
Yeah.
includes police services board honorarium
oh, okay,
for the board members themselves.
yeah. So that there's, so the honorarium for the police services board is included in the honorarium bylaw, but the police services board is really a standalone
Yes.
entity that should have its own.
I just didn't want to repeal this bylaw and then
Okay.
get lost.
So far for our list of sections under 5.1B, we've got the attendance policy report when available that should include a list of the committees that councilors sit on. We're going to include consideration of the planning committee, the details of the planning committee and that honorarium as part of our discussion. And then the honorarium discussion on the honorarium bylaw and the inclusion of the police services honorarium within that process. Okay. Any other questions around on 5.1?
Will we be deciding the numbers today, Mr. Chair?
No, I think B suggests that we're going to receive that these are the comments that we're looking at for the future report to the committee, and we'll receive those back at our next meeting.
Would it be possible, through the chair, would it be possible to get a full like breakdown of like what the total amount of hours that a counselor actually does in terms of like responding to constituents and attending? Cause like each one will be different. So like if we could just get a round average for the average counselor, that would be appreciated. Is that if that's operationally feasible?
So,
Yes.
so through the chair, it's certainly within the purview of this particular committee to make a request, send a survey to members of council to indicate how many hours do you spend preparing for meetings, reading reports, responding, like that kind of a survey. If you would like us to prepare a draft of something like that for distribution, we can certainly do that.
That's certainly what I would certainly appreciate.
Okay, seeing moved, seeing a nod, any objection? Okay, let's add that to our list. So a survey of task staff as well in the B there as part of our list, a survey of, sorry.
Yeah, no, just through the chair, in 2021, we had an employment status review and that looked at council's part-time, full-time status and the ward boundaries. And I believe through there, they may have undergone some interviews with the consultants in terms of their workload and the hours worked. So if we do find that, would that be okay with the committee, or did you still want to proceed with the survey in addition to that?
Well, since then COVID's happened,
Yes.
so how they work and
Yeah.
might
okay.
have changed their, you know, a little bit anyways, possibly, and less committees, possibly.
We could take a look at that. That could maybe perhaps build
Yeah.
the framework of our,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a start for sure.
Sure.
And that 2020 report is available.
It's online.
It's online, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the title of it?
I could send it to the committee.
Okay, yeah, let's do, add to the list, so a survey survey will be built on some of the data from, or some of the questions and data from the 2021 report, and we'll send the 2021 report to the committee. That should give us a good base of information. Anything further, additional questions? Okay. All those in favor of accepting the council rumination review parts A, the report to be received, and then the comments from the committee be included in the next report? Any opposed? Seeing none, it's carried. So 5.1 A and B carried.
I just had a procedural question. So all of this now will go back to committee before we can move forward? or council, whichever it is.
So right now, this recommendation is simply asking staff to include certain items for the next report. We're not directing staff as of yet or making any recommendations to council.
Okay, good.
It'll stay with this committee
Yep.
up until there's a decision point where amend something, direct staff to do something. That's when it makes its way to the committee of the
Yeah.
whole.
So on to 5.2, the establishment of a meeting schedule. So every task force at its first meeting shall establish a meeting schedule to give members, staff, and the public as much advance notice as possible. I'll try. I don't have the capacity to just call meetings on a whim, so that'll be avoided. But there may be a special meeting called by the chair to address an urgent item. So we shall do that. Can I have a mover and a seconder to put a recommendation on the floor to establish a meeting schedule? Mohammed?
I propose bi-monthly.
Okay, so
Oh, or
so that the Citizens Remuneration Review Committee establish a bi-monthly schedule, so meetings every other month.
yes.
Okay, so to put it on the floor, a seconder.
That's my only question is, does that work for staff?
Yes.
Read it, put it on the floor first. Now I'm in
I
process.
want to.
Read it on the floor first, and then we can go to discussion. So on the floor first, Virginia, thank you. Questions? Does a bi-monthly schedule work for staff?
That's for me.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? What is our deadline or what is our timeline for the committee's work? What's our deadline for final report to council?
Through the chair, pretty much however much time we need to have a recommendation.
Okay. Right, but prior to the expiry of this term of council.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I'm hoping it doesn't take us that much time.
Too far into 2026.
Okay. Okay, so seeing none, we have a motion for bi-monthly meetings. Any other questions or discussion?
If bi-monthly is like too frequent, quarterly could also work. It's totally up to like what our professional staff, they know better. So, up to you.
Yeah,
Sorry, if I could then make a comment. So if we have this meeting bi-monthly, the next one would be in May, and then it would be in July, September, like, do those months work for everybody? Or do we need to look at something different?
Should work for me.
Yeah.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, doesn't that work? I think that works on a
Okay.
bi-monthly basis rather than.
Okay, so we're on to any other questions? Okay, I'll call to question. All those in favor of bi-monthly meetings, beginning of the next meeting will then be in May. Any opposed? So carried, bi-monthly it is. In terms of establishing the next date in May, should we, this would be the first Thursday of the month at 3 o'clock. Should we propose? Yes, I would entertain a motion that we establish it tentatively the first Thursday of the month at 3 at this time slot, May, for that cycle through at least through 2024. But I can't make that motion as the chair. So
I can't motion, but I can comment. I don't know my schedule yet because I'll be going to grad school. So I have no idea what my work is. Work and my academic schedule will be like, but I'm sure that it should tentatively be okay and I can carve out some time.
So one option is a motion to establish a day and time according to the monthly schedule. Another would be the chair can work with staff to establish that next date and send it out to committee for review.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
that
could
works,
definitely
yeah.
pull
Okay,
Yeah.
numbers, yeah.
okay, well, so we'll do that. The chair and and staff will connect on that. So 5.3, identification of tasks and report back dates. We, according to the city's procedural bylaw, which want to look that up, you can. It also stipulates that the first meeting of the task force shall identify specific tasks and report back date in order to complete its mandate. So a mover and a second to put forth a recommendation on the floor establishing tasks and report back dates. We may have kind of just covered that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
through the chair, this is a bit of an awkward clause in the procedural bylaw, given this committee is pretty much driven by the staff reports and the direction that we have received from council and from you. And given that we've just established our meeting dates, I believe that we've, in a roundabout way, done that. This provision is in here just for more so task forces that aren't necessarily as structured as this. And so that is pretty much my advice on that side.
So we're good for now.
Sure, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having a hard time seeing what we would do. We've tasked staff to come back with some reports, and we're gonna report back in May. And any concerns, discussion? We actually need a mover discussion. Good idea. Okay, we will move forward then with no vote required on 5.3. There are no consent items this afternoon. We have no resolutions this afternoon and no notices of motions this afternoon. And under the city's interpretation of Robert's rules, this meeting is now adjourned.
Very efficient.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear me now, but
Oh, we got you. All right.
oh, right at the end, perfect.
Take care.
All right, goodbye.